Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the SITREP order summary for the day of 986 to 987 for the 5th to the 6th of November. And now we're going to start off with the Kherson front first, and then we do anti-clockwise direction to cover all the front lines. And first thing first, there is a Ukrainian MiG-29 reportedly getting shot down over Ukraine. This is the first aircraft shot down in a long time. We haven't seen an aircraft shot down reported in a long time. So it's a MiG-29, and I can confirm that there is still MiG-29s flying for the Ukrainian Air Force because they do put a lot of footages of it, including them dropping bombs, guided bombs, JDAMs. So anyway, over at the Kherson front, Ukrainian Defense Ministry continued to report about fighting in the Dnipropetrovsk direction. There is no idea, know exactly where this attack coming from. Shellings report at Tokarivka, Mykolaiivka, as well as Vohledar. Yeah, so that's all for the Kherson front. Over in the Zaporizhzhia front, so this is Zaporizhzhia city, and this is the Zaporizhzhia front. At the KMSK sector, there is fighting being reported over the past 48 hours, with fighting reported at Novosilka towards Kharkiv as well as below here. Yeah. The concentration of fighting seems to be directed in this direction towards in the area of Novosilka. So this is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and the Russian Defense Ministry. There seems to be a bit more reports about fighting in this area. We shall see how this goes. Over in the Velyka Novosilka sector of the Donetsk front, shelling is reported at Temerivka and Zeleny Pole. Fighting is reported towards Velyka Novosilka. And this is related to the fighting over in the Uspenivka front, on the Uspenivka sector, where, so this is Uspenivka. So let me draw the circle. So this is Uspenivka. So over this area here, Russian forces are fighting in the direction of Rozdone, and they have expanded control over in Yasna Polyana. So there's also slight expansion over to the west of Chatarsky. So this means that the Russians are already on the process of flanking the rear position of Velyka Novosilka and also heading directly for it from the east. And this is particularly uncomfortable for the Ukrainians, because if you look at the entrenchments, these are all south-facing entrenchment. Only this one is a all-round defense, and basically most of with this attack from Chatarsky, the Russians are heading in the rear position from the rear of all these entrenchment. So basically they can avoid most of the entrenchment, barring just a few, probably this one and this one, but everything else is south-facing. The Russians are basically going to attack from the rear position and making all these entrenchment irrelevant in the fight for Velyka Novosilka. So this is what is currently happening around here. Expansion of grounds around Yasna Polyana, that shows that the Russians are heading in the direction of Rozdone. So this is the current situation in this area here. Over in the other part of Uspenivka, around the north of Novosilka, Russian forces continue to fight in this area. Fighting continues over at Maximivka, with the Ukrainian mapping shows that the Russians are pushing from the eastern flank, moving northward, ignoring the capture of Maximivka. But the Russian Defense Ministry did announce the capture of Maximivka, despite the Ukrainian mapping didn't seem to show that. And geolocation of Russian forces west of Trudove shows that the Russians have expanded massive control over in the northwest of Bohoiavlenka. And this also confirmed the securing of the western flank of Bohoiavlenka. Fighting continued to be reported towards Trudove in the area of Bohoiavlenka. So, and there is geolocation to the east of Bohoiavlenka, and this one of this latest information shows that the Russians have expanded the security buffer. Let me turn off my let me mute my WhatsApp, if not you get confused. Yeah, and so this is basically securing Bohoiavlenka for the Russians. The northeast is not fully confirmed yet. Ukrainians still claim pretty close control towards Bohoiavlenka, but unlikely to be the case. So Uspenivka is going to be in deep trouble. The Russians are coming near. Trudove is unlikely to be able to hold. Situation is getting really bad. as we move to the eastern flank of the Uspenivka front, Uspenivka sector, either front or sector is the same. So just now we already mentioned this with the geolocation. The Russian forces also continue to expand the ground between Bohoiavlenka and Yelizaveta, with the Russian forces continue to take over all the entrenchment, the whole line of entrenchment around here. This entrenchment is all now taken. The Russians are now going to straighten the front line, as they then can pick and choose where they want to attack. So there is a major forest over here. It could be a forest plantation, very big one. So I wonder if this will pose some kind of problems for the Russians. Let's see how this continue to develop. Ukrainians most likely will have some position defending this forest because it's easy to hide things. But winter is coming. As winter comes, things it's gonna get more and more difficult to hide, because now we have thermals. Unlike in World War II, there's no thermals. People just wear white, and then when you wear white in the snow, you can't, you're pretty invisible. But in today's age, even though body heat shows up really clearly, especially against snow. So and not to mention there is no more foliage, no more leaves in the trees, so it's just gonna be dried branches and it's pretty see-through. So in winter it's going to be harder to hide, and so the forest may not necessarily provide that much advantage for the Ukrainians in defense. Fighting is now reported at Yelizaveta, and Russian mapping claims the rest of Katerinivka, whereas geolocation showing that the Russians have taken most of Antonivka. It's important to note that the Russian Defense Ministry in yesterday's report announced that they have captured Antonivka. So there's a good chance that Antonivka is actually captured by the Russians, which would also mean that the Russians would be attacking Ilyinka next. So if the Russians continue to bounce along the northern side of the river faster than the southern side, it would just collapse the southern defense, because there's this river here, in case you do not know, and so if the Russians continue to just take all the position in the north, then the Ukrainians will have no choice but to withdraw from the southern half of the river, or they would just get encircled, especially with the Russians already heading towards Uspenivka. So this is the current situation in the Uspenivka sector of the Donetsk front. So just to draw a little bit, yeah. Then this can be the thumbnail. Let me move a bit more. Okay, so I go to okay, yeah. Then I can use it for thumbnail maybe. So moving on. Over at the Kurakhove sector, the Russian forces are fighting in the region of Hostre, Maximilianivka, Kurakhove, and towards Darne. There is still reports being mentioned about Voschenka and Stepanivka by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, but most likely is not the case, as the Russians have already been geolocated to have captured all these positions. Latest geolocation confirms the mapping. So the Russians are continuing to advance in this area here. Fighting is now being reported at Ilinka and Bereski. So this is going to be really bad. The Ukrainians, going to have a tough decision to make. Should they stay and fight at Kurakhove? Because the northern flank doesn't look very secure. The Russians will be able to take the northern shores of this reservoir. This is going to be a pretty big problem for the Ukrainian forces. Moving further up north, over in this what sector should we call this? Sukharine sector. Russian forces have most likely captured the rest of Kreminna Balka mappings by Ukrainian mapping. So this actually confirms the full capture of Kreminna Balka. Russian forces also have straightened the front line north of Novodimitrivka, leading up to Novosilka. So fighting is now being reported at Zoria as well. So fighting at Oleksievka and Novodimitrivka. Fighting is reported at Novosilka. So so a lot of novos around here. So that's the current situation inside this sector, with Sonsivka being one of the prime objective, I guess, in this area, because it's a small little hub. So that's the current situation. Kreminna Balka, if you look at the mapping, is fully captured. So I'm going to just put it in before I forget. So Ukrainian forces, sorry, Russian forces captured Kreminna Balka. So this is confirmed. So I just give them the flag. Yep. So there's a red flag there. So we move further up north at the Selydove region, as mentioned just now. So Russian forces have already taken grounds in the south of Novosilka. There is also further updates. Fighting is reported at Kurakhove with geolocation of Russian forces just off Petrivka along the railway line as the Russians continue to push along the railway line from Vishneve down to Petrievka. So fighting is also being reported in the area of Selydove. So, but it could actually be referring to this front line around here. So, anyway, this is the current situation in the Selydove sector of the Pokrovsk front, and we continue to watch the situation. Moving to the Pokrovsk sector of the Pokrovsk front, fighting is reported at Lisivka, Krutia, Novosilka, towards Minograd, Promin, as well as the Horodivka, and there's also fighting reported at Mariolubivka. According to the Ukrainians, they say that the Russian prime focus seems to be at Promin as well as Lisivka. So these two seems to be the prime focus for the Russians at this moment. And as you can see, this actually targets different cities. This actually leads to Minograd. Lisivka leads to Pokrovsk. So this is the Russians are very greedy. They try to go for everything at once. So let's see how this continue to develop at the Pokrovsk front. Over the northern flank, there is only fighting reported at Vuhledar. So that's not very important. It's just spinning operation. Over at the New York front, fighting is reported over at Sukabalka, Leonidivka, Skebinivka, Toretsk, and also DDFka. But the Toretsk is the main thing. So there is based on the Ukrainian mapping, the latest mapping from the Ukrainian side shows the Russian expanding their control slightly in the center of Toretsk. So I wonder what the Russians are doing over here. Are they just holding positions? Do they run out of assault troops? Why are they stuck here for so long? So this is a very unusual situation around here. So as you can see, this is pretty much a salient. It's a really weird position for the Russians, and the Ukrainians do have mappings that show that they have control around here. So Ukrainians could potentially, pincer and cut off the Russians, but no, we all know why they didn't do it. Fighting being reported at DDFK continues to puzzle me, so just leave it there. We move into the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, in the southern flank, we are fighting reported in the region of Klishevka. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, geolocation of Russian forces attacking southwest of Stoposhki, capturing some grounds, Ukrainians counterattack towards Ivaniske. That's all. Over in the northern flank of the Bakhmut front, Russian forces are fighting at Zelenianske, Orikovo Vasilivka towards Makove and Chasivya. Geolocation of this is a shelling of landmines. Yeah, but anyway, whatever it is, no, it's not important. This area unlikely to have any Russian major offensive, because if they do this, then they are just as dumb as the Ukrainians 2023 counteroffensive, hitting a wall. This is a massive defensive wall here. You see, like the defense here is like just multi lines. It's not really practical to really hit across this area here. Moving on, over the Siversk front, we have major news. Fighting is reported at Bilohorivka and Siversk. But what's important is the change in the mapping. According to the geolocations, we finally have corroboration of the capture of Ivano-Darivka and Vimka. And this area of capture is massive. This is 2.22 square kilometers. This is 5.91. That's around 7 square kilometers of grounds confirmed to be under Russian control in the east of Ivano-Darivka. At Vimka, similar situation is happening with Russian advancing way further than previous map and invalidating Ukrainian claims. So the mapping here is at 1.8, 2.8. So that's around 5 square kilometers plus. So a lot. Together, there's like more than 12 square kilometers. A lot of grounds being captured, and now we have a more firm mapping that we can actually base off our reporting and analysis. And this also will corroborate all these reports about fighting at Zvenivka and Siversk, because the Russians is indeed pretty advanced now in this area here in the south of Siversk. So over in the Kreminna front, fighting is reported at Terny as well as Torske. Geolocation of Russian forces in the forward position show that the Russians are advancing slowly in Terny, very, very, very slowly, but maybe there is a severe or very heavy defense in Terny, which is why the defense advances is really slow, and there is geolocation of a Lancer hitting a Ukrainian artillery of Zelena Dolina. Over in the southern flank of the Svatove front, this is Svatove. Okay, it only says southern front. Let's see. Yeah, southern front. So fighting is reported at Svetoglyubove, Druzhilebivka, Kurakhove, as well as Novosilka. So this is pretty much the usual where we have reports of fighting, but we don't really know what exactly is happening. So the fog of war around here is still pretty heavy. Further up north, over in this Vishneve sector, which the target is actually Borova. So the Russian forces have expanded control in the south of Vishneve. Geolocation of Russian forces on the eastern part of Prisheptrevneve is pretty interesting, and mapping have shown that the Russian forces have advanced southward from Vishneve according to the Ukrainian mapping. So fighting continued to be reported in the Vishneve region, but the Russians are entering Prisheptrevneve, and this would herald the start of yet another potential encirclement with the Russians heading in this direction. And there is also fighting reported at Svetoglyubove. So this could potentially become a pincer and strengthening Ukrainian forces defending at Nadia. So let's continue to watch on to see how this continues to develop. Over the Pischane front, fighting is reported at Novosilka, Berestove towards Lozova, Kuryakivka, Zaporizhzhia, as well as Kolisnykivka. So some frontline changes stuff around here. Some geolocation of Russian forces south of Berestove doesn't change anything. At Kuryakivka, Russian forces are heading south due to geolocation confirming the frontline change towards Zaporizhzhia. So this is happening. But yeah, progress is pretty slow. Maybe the terrain here is not that friendly because too much forest, a lot of place to hide. In the Kolisnykivka, the northern flank, the Russian forces also expanded control, capturing most of Kolisnykivka already. So this is going to lead to announcement of capture pretty soon, I would say, because anywhere further up north is going to be Kulichkivka, which is a totally different settlement. So we are looking at the soon to be captured Kolisnykivka. Over in the Kupiansk front, fighting is primarily around Kupiansk region. Fighting is reported at Holubivka, towards Kupiansk, Koshcherivka, as well as Petropavlivka. So this continues to be the situation. Here is even worse. The terrain here is very, very messy, even more difficult for the Russians. So, and a lot of place to hide, so this is more difficult to clear. So that's all from the Kupiansk front. Over the Kharkiv front, at the Kharkiv front, we have fighting reported at Kozacha Lopan, Lipsy, Ternova, Staresia, and Voschansk. But it looks like a lot of arrows, but I still don't feel like this is some kind of offensive. I think that is a heavy harassment, I think it's just a heavy molestation of the Ukrainian front lines. So let's see how this continues to develop. In the western end, there's also no Russian harassment over at Velyka, Pisarivka. Russian forces attack in this area here. So we shall see how these attacks in across all these different places going to play out. So Velyka Pasarivka, Kozacholoppan, Lipsy, Tonova, Zaporizhzhia, Voschansk. Yeah, very, very hairy. We move into the Kursk front. Now to the Kursk front. At the Kursk front, we have pretty much the same situation as before. There's not much change. The Russian forces are fighting at Plekovo. Ukrainians are clashing with them. Russians are attacking, Leonidovo, Novo Ivanovka, Nizhny Klin, Darino, Nikolaevo Darino, and there is also some kind of fighting report at Novi Put with the Russian pushing the Ukrainians from the small village. Ukrainians are counter-attacking over at Darino as well as Leonidovo. So that's all from the Kursk front. I don't think there's a point to zoom in. It's pretty much more or less the same thing. Geolocation of Ukrainian tanks getting destroyed by Russian drones, but that's about it. There's nothing really particularly outstanding, I would say, in the Kursk front. So the fact that the Ukrainians are still trying to hold positions in this area, yeah, I mean it's not wrong. You rather fight in your enemy's land rather than your own land. But yeah, whatever. So anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe. Check out the DPA's Telegram. I post a lot of memes over there, a lot of jokes and serious stuff all at the same time, and on Twitter as well. And also, if you like to support my work, do consider supporting DPA on Patreon, because by having a strong Patreon support, that will provide me with the cushion to continue to report regardless of the fluctuation of the viewership in the YouTube, because YouTube is a bit too difficult now, because the market, like the people all around the world that is interested in watching Ukraine war, that interested in objective information or pro-Russian information is pretty limited. And the market is very saturated with a military summary and Whip Union taking the top 2 spot, capturing most of this viewership. And so DPA, no matter how good are the reports it's going to be, or how much you guys enjoy it, the growth is going to be super slow. Viewership is not going to be very high. That's how the algorithm works. So this is why, do help to support. And definitely we'll hope. I personally hope that the Ukraine war will end soon, because then people can stop dying. Despite this is actually a major revenue income, and I also think that with Donald Trump coming up as a president, there might be a chance that he may be able to make a deal with Putin, and but that would definitely come with a lot of pain for the Ukrainians. 100% for sure. Ukraine is definitely going to have to concede land. They will go into massive debts, because the United States will stop giving money to Ukraine once Donald Trump is in power. So I think this is likely to be the outcome. So, and so which is why, on my side, I'm actually preparing, since for a long time, preparing for so-called life after Ukraine war. And I've been reporting on geopolitics and news, just that lately I've been a bit too busy, and so a bit difficult for me to cover more stuff. As you can hear, I'm also sick, because lack of sleep, because I'm working on too many things, not just on DPA, but I have other businesses as well. So this week has been a hell week. But anyway, just support. Thank you for watching. I will still be around. Don't worry. Ukraine war ends also, so I will still be around. DPA existed for years before the Ukraine war. It will continue to exist after the Ukraine war. So let's hope the war ends soon, and I'll see you guys in the next update.